Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything. Today continuing our Drawing Every Country in the World's Flag series. And today, going back into Oceania and going back into the Pacific Ocean. And you probably can't even see it on the map here, but it's right about over here, like kind of halfway between Australia and Hawaii. We're going to be doing the Marshall Islands. Alright, so the Marshall Islands, again, it is in the Pacific Ocean, kind of a newer country. They don't achieve independence until 1979. And just like a lot of these Pacific nation states, there's a lot of different stuff kind of getting cooked into that national identity, right? There's a lot of different European powers that are kind of coming in and out of that area, like over the years. So we'll get to that in a second here. They do have a bit of a longer flag and kind of a simple design. I think we did one kind of similar to this with the Seychelles. And Marshall Islands is kind of like that too. They got the Windows 1995 sort of designed flag, but that's okay. Alright, so early settlements in the Marshall Islands around the 1st century AD. You have a lot of different tribal chieftains, and this kind of, I'm not getting that right, hold on. This kind of carries on into the modern ethnic identity of the islands. There's about 20 different atolls there. So you have two chiefdoms, the Ratak and the Ralik. All right, so that represents the sunrise, the Ratak, and the Ralik, the sunset. Right? So that kind of exists for a long period of time there, kind of pre-age of exploration. All right, they just have a star up in the corner here. I just got to make sure I get the center. Oh, the right size. Okay. So yeah, speaking of age of exploration, the first European powers to settle there are the Spanish in about 1592. The Germans actually purchased this island, the island chain, from the Spanish in 1884. So remember, Germany did have a Pacific Empire kind of leading up into World War I. And then Germany, they lose their Pacific Empire as a result of the Treaty of Versailles. Right, so Germany has to give up all its possessions, even though, this is kind of like the age of the early beginnings of, the liberal kind of world order, the age of democracy, right, where there's going to be no more colonialism. None of that, but this is all kind of blamed on Germany, but again, France and Britain, they still keep all their possessions, right? And they own pretty much like 3/4 of the planet. So yeah, there's a lot of anti-German, like, they were the bad guys in World War I kind of stuff going on. But James, you're babbling on here about Germany. Japan actually took the islands from Germany in 1914, but they were not lost by the Germans. So this was actually not part of Germany having to give up its foreign territories, because, again, this is 1914, right? So that's the onset of World War I, right? We're just getting started. So they made a deal, actually, to take those islands. So they become administered by the Japanese, kind of in the early to mid 20th century there. And remember Japan, they were kind of on the side, they were kind of not really on any particular side, like in the interwar period. Like this period gets kind of tricky with Japan, going to the Axis in World War II. Japan was always kind of friendly to Britain, right? Saw themselves as kind of like a similar sort of empire, right? Like that maritime sort of empire, right? Japan, just a tiny nation, basically sitting on rocks, no real natural resources. So, they saw the British model as something to emulate, right? And Japan actually gets these islands as part of a actually at this point it would have been a League of Nations mandate in 1920. So Japan takes control of the islands. And then, of course, in World War II, you have the Pacific Theater there, the Pacific part of the war. And I always like to tell people that, we like to kind of group these world wars together, right? World War II was, the Allies versus the Axis, but I always kind of think of the Pacific Theater as almost a separate war, right? Like, yeah, it's taking place at the same time, but there's really not a lot of coordination going on between like the Axis powers in the Pacific as well as the Axis powers in Europe. So a lot of different reasons for those wars starting. But yeah, as you can imagine, World War II, a lot of conflict there because the United States basically enters World War II as a result of Japan attacking Pearl Harbor. But if you're a student of history, that wasn't the original plan, right? It was actually a lot easier to get us into World War II via Japan than it was Germany, which FDR kind of smartened up to much later on. It was more of a Harold Ickes decision in the FDR administration. So, yeah, I'm just kind of coloring around this star here. This 24 rays on this star. Yeah, and the kind of babbling on about World War II and stuff here because there's not. I don't mean to be crass, but there's not really a lot going on in this country, right? So it's a lot of it is kind of foreign influence in that region, whether it be imperial powers and like the age of exploration period. I keep having trouble with that word if I can only talk today. Exploration, or kind of going into the 20th century with the two big world wars and the kind of overturning of the world order post World War II. So they're kind of in the middle of it. But once World War II is over with, 1947, they form a trust territory of the Pacific Islands. So this is where you kind of see a lot of American influence in that part of the world. So let me just color this bar in here. Yeah, and this flag does remind me a lot of that Seychelles flag, right? They got that diagonal beam. And they're both island countries, right? All you island countries got these really modern looking flags. Yeah, so the United States, once they get the islands, after World War II, they start doing a lot of population relocations there because the United States foothold in the Pacific is very strong at this part in history, and Hawaii is just about to become a state right at the end of the 50s. I can't remember, was that like late 50s or was that like 1960? But either or, the U.S. is expanding into the Pacific. They are doing a lot of nuclear tests in that region. So some of the earlier nuclear tests were done on the Marshall Islands, right? Not on the population, right? Again, the Marshall Islands, there's a lot of islands there, and most of them are uninhabited, like the Bikini Islands, right? And I love bikinis. But yeah, unfortunately, that's where It's like the old Simpsons joke, right? Where Candy Apple Island. Oh, Candy Apple Island. You know what I'm talking about. No, it's not actually an island of bikini-clad babes. It's mostly uninhabited, and yeah, that's where earlier nuclear tests took place. And then in 1979, the Marshall Islands declare independence. Right, so a lot of these Pacific Island states kind of they get like a gradual independence, right? So they were basically, a lot of them were like United Nations mandates. So they had some autonomy, but they were kind of given like provisionary like nation state status. You know, if they could demonstrate that they could uphold like free and fair elections or whatever and all that stuff. You know, all the international community guidelines, and they could become a functioning state on their own. And the Marshall Islands are no different. So again, 1979 independence. They form, I believe in the early 80s, it was a Compact of Free Association with the United States. So they do this with a couple other of these Pacific Island countries, namely the Federated States of Micronesia, and then also Palau. And we already did Palau on this channel, so go check out that episode. And basically what the Compact of Free Association means is that if you're a United States citizen, you have free travel between any of those Compact of Free Association states, right? So you don't need like a passport to go there. We offer naval assistance, right? So we do offer our Navy as protection to these islands. So we pretty much have free trade. And yeah, so it's basically just kind of like, you know, it's almost like a Puerto Rico sort of situation, but you know, Puerto Rico, not really like its own country, but these guys still are considered a country, but they get a lot of you know, the benefits of you know, U.S. protection and economic, you know, not just physical protection, but economic protection in that region. All right, so that's the Marshall Islands. And again, I wish there was more I could talk about with this country, but it's kind of similar to a lot of the Pacific Island countries I've already done. You know, just similar history, bounced around back and forth between a lot of different powers up until like the post-World War II period. But yeah, what does the flag mean? So the orange on the top and then the white on the bottom, that represents the Ralik and the Ratek. And remember, we talked about that with some of those early tribes, the sunrise and the sunset. And then the star symbolizes a cross of Christianity. And each of the 24 rays around the star designates one of the districts in the country, right? And then there's 4 larger rays, like on the main cross part there, cultural centers of Majuro, Jalawit, Woche, and Abiye. And the rising diagonal band also represents the equator, right, with the star above the island's position just north of the equator. So that's the Marshall Islands. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you on the next video.